two women, two first ladies, and two visions of America that could not be more different. On one side, we have Jackie Kennedy, a woman who stood in the center of a national nightmare with a calmness the world still cannot explain. A woman who watched history explode beside her, wiped nothing off her suit, and said one line that froze America in place: "Let them see what they've done." On the other side, we have Michelle Obama, a woman who left the White House with multi-million-dollar deals and a global spotlight, yet somehow still describes herself as a victim of the country she represented. One woman rebuilt the White House so it reflected the spirit of a nation. The other complained that it was too hard to find clothes that fit off the rack. One woman carried the trauma of a nation on her shoulders. The other carried a glam squad. So the real question is simple. How did America move from the dignity of Jackie to the self-pity of Michelle? And more importantly, what does that say about the country we are becoming? Ready? Let's begin. Two opening stories, tragedy versus dissatisfaction. Let's start with two scenes that define everything about these two women. Scene 1, Dallas, November 22nd, 1963. Jackie Kennedy is sitting beside her husband when the gunfire erupts. In a split second, the world changes. The chaos, the screaming, the blood, all of it crashes into her at once. Yet, somehow she stays present. She stays upright. And when they board Air Force One, she refuses to change her blood-stained suit. Her words are simple, calm, terrifying in their clarity. Let them see what they've done. This is dignity forged inside a nightmare. This is pain carried with discipline. And this is a woman who understands that her reaction, in that moment, becomes part of the national memory. Now, scene 2, Michelle Obama. Not a national tragedy, not a life-altering event, just a conversation about her time in the White House. And what troubles her most? Her glam squad. Her clothes not fitting off the rack. Her feeling judged when she had to keep her hair straight. Two women, two very different kinds of hardship. One held herself together as her world collapsed. The other felt inconvenienced by the spotlight she willingly stepped into. And that contrast sets the stage for everything that follows. The power of silence, Jackie's control versus Michelle's commentary. If you really want to understand the difference between Jackie Kennedy and Michelle Obama, you have to understand one thing. Silence, real silence, is a form of power. Jackie understood this better than most presidents, better than most world leaders. In the weeks after the assassination, she gave only a few interviews, not to defend herself, not to complain, but to protect the memory of her husband. She chose her words like someone carrying glass through fire, slow, careful, precise. She even said she tried not to trouble Jack with political stress at the end of each day. "I felt criminal reminding him," she confessed. She didn't want to add one more weight onto a man already drowning in responsibility. That is emotional discipline. That is a partner who understands the gravity of power. Now, look at Michelle. Instead of silence, we get constant commentary, podcast confessions, televised grievances,
public lectures about hair, clothing, and invisible burdens. The focus is rarely on the country, rarely on the moment, rarely on history. It is on her, how she felt, how she was treated, how she struggled with things that, in the role of First Lady, are not national crises, but personal inconveniences. Jackie used silence to elevate the nation. Michelle used her voice to elevate herself. And that difference explains why one became a timeless symbol and the other became a headline that never seems to end.
One woman built the White House. The other complained about it. If the role of a first lady reveals character, then the White House itself becomes the perfect mirror. Let's look at Jackie. When she arrived, she didn't see a stage for herself. She saw a broken national symbol, a place stripped of its history and identity. So she rebuilt it, piece by piece, with the discipline of a curator and the vision of an artist. She tracked down lost artifacts. She restored rooms that had been neglected for decades. She showcased American craftsmanship and culture through music, art, and theater. And she delivered a televised tour that shattered viewing records because Americans wanted to see what she had created. Under Jackie, the White House became more than a residence. It became a living portrait of the country. Now compare that to Michelle. Her most memorable stories about the White House are not about history, legacy, or service. They are about clothing that didn't fit, hair that took too long, a glam squad she claimed was necessary for survival, and the emotional exhaustion of always being on. Instead of elevating the house, she made the house feel like a burden. Instead of serving the country, she framed the country as something that didn't appreciate her enough. Jackie restored the White House to honor America. Michelle reframed it to explain her own discomfort. And that is the moment the contrast stops being cosmetic and becomes cultural.
Two kinds of women for two kinds of America. At this point, the contrast between Jackie and Michelle is no longer just about personality. It is about the country that shaped them and the country they helped define. Jackie belonged to an America that valued composure, responsibility, elegance without confession. In her world, you carried your burdens quietly because the nation had its own burdens to bear. The role of First Lady was not a platform for personal issues. It was a duty, a national one. Michelle belongs to a different America, an era where personal feelings outrank collective responsibility, where identity is currency, where every public role becomes an opportunity to talk about yourself, your struggles, and your emotional battles. Jackie represented a culture that believed power should be silent. Michelle represents a culture that believes power should be spoken. Jackie curated history. Michelle curated her brand. Jackie stepped into the White House asking, "What can I build for the country?" Michelle stepped into the same house asking, "How does this place make me feel?" Two women, two Americas. And the distance between them is not just generational, it is philosophical. One America builds, the other America broadcasts. And that difference explains why these two women have become symbols of two very different national identities. Jackie was not perfect, but her reaction was. Before we crown Jackie as flawless, let's tell the truth. She wasn't perfect. And that is exactly why her story matters. Jackie had insecurities, real ones. Her accent was unusual. Her style was criticized as too elite. Her natural hair was thick, unruly, and difficult to control. At times, she wore wigs, not for glamour, but for practicality. And yes,
She came from a complicated family background, one that included whispers about lineage, race, and class. But here's the difference. Jackie never turned any of these things into a public grievance. She didn't demand sympathy. She didn't center herself. She didn't weaponize her struggles for applause. Instead, she chose discipline. She chose responsibility. She chose to keep the nation's attention where it belonged, not on her. Michelle, however, took every insecurity and moved it into the spotlight. Clothing, hair, judgment, identity. Suddenly, everything became a barrier. Everything became a burden. Everything became a story about her. Jackie had vulnerabilities, but she carried them privately. Michelle had vulnerabilities, but she broadcast them publicly. And that is why Jackie's legacy endures, not because she was perfect, but because she understood the weight of the role. She understood the difference between personal discomfort and national duty. Her power didn't come from being flawless. It came from the way she chose to rise above the flaws.
Now we arrive at the moment where everything about Jackie becomes clear. It is January 1964, just weeks after the assassination. The nation is still grieving, the world is still stunned, and Jackie Kennedy steps forward, alone, to speak to the American people for the first time. Her voice is soft, almost fragile, but her words carry the strength of a woman holding her family and her country together. She thanks the public for nearly 800,000 letters of condolence, 800,000 strangers reaching out in the darkest chapter of her life. She tells them she reads the letters whenever she can bear to. A line so gentle and honest that even today it feels like a hand placed on the nation's shoulder. Then she speaks of legacy, of memory, of preserving her husband's life through the Kennedy Library so future generations can understand the time he lived in. And then comes the part that reveals everything about her. She talks about the eternal flame she lit for Jack at Arlington, and she says it burns not only for her husband, but for Officer J.D. Tippit, the man killed while chasing the assassin. In her grief, she still made room for someone else's grief. That is the kind of strength that cannot be taught. It cannot be rehearsed. It cannot be manufactured for a podcast or a book tour. It is dignity under the heaviest pain a human being can endure. And it is the reason Jackie Kennedy's legacy did not fade. It became eternal.
So here we are, two women, two first ladies, two legacies pointing in opposite directions. Jackie Kennedy showed us dignity in its purest form, not because her life was easy, not because her position protected her, but because she understood that national roles demand national courage. She never asked for sympathy. She never centered the conversation on herself. She took her pain and turned it into something larger than grief. She turned it into duty. Michelle Obama showed us something else. A modern America where personal feelings outweigh public service, where the spotlight is not a tool, but the point, where the role of First Lady becomes a stage for discomfort, frustration, and self-narration. One woman built the story of a nation. The other built the story of herself. And the truth is simple. You can learn more about a person by how they respond to pressure than by anything they say when life is easy. So the real question is not about Jackie or Michelle. It's about us. What kind of legacy do we want to honor? The legacy of dignity or the legacy of complaint? Because the answer to that question will tell us exactly what kind of country we are becoming.